I'm Brian Anderson.
And I'm Bobby Fazio. And welcome to another episode of Class Racing Today, October 12th, 2020.
We got some good stuff for you guys today. Got some racing results. We also got the notorious Nitro Joe. Probably the most well-known guy in super stock racing as far as stats and keeping track of it and just truly passionate about sports. So we wanted him to come on and join our conversation today.
Nitro Joe Jackson.
Hey guys, Joe. How you doing?
Doing very well.
Well. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, no problem at all. I was waiting for the big light to come on to cue me up. Say, okay, here, talk.
Well, we didn't have enough cord to get the applause sign to your house, so
all right.
We're just gonna have to wing it this time.
Oh, no problem.
Where are you located? Where are you from, Joe?
Loudonville, Ohio.
Nice.
It's right in the middle of Ohio.
So how far to Hebron, that racetrack, and Norwalk? How far to get to those tracks?
Okay. National Trails is an hour 15 minutes from me. Norwalk's 45 minutes. Dragway 42 is 25 minutes. So I got some tracks around me.
Well, I could actually relocate to a place like that. My closest is 2.5 hours. I got 3 tracks basically within 2.5 hours. Otherwise, we're going 6-7 hours.
And Norwalk's a great track. I ran the National there a couple times. The $1 for a pound of ice cream. Can't beat that.
I grew up there.
And
Nice.
The Bader family. He runs a nice operation there. I hope things turn around for him next year for sure.
Did you guys watch any racing this weekend? Anybody race?
I did race. I did not race. I didn't class race. I took my class car to. I took my knife to a gunfight, if you will. Door Wars at Maple Grove Raceway. It was $10,000 to win on Friday, $20,000 to win on Saturday, and $10,000 to win on Sunday. $420 to enter for the weekend, so not a bad deal at all, and tons of giveaways. And I did as best I could. I went 4 rounds on Saturday, and that was it. 8th mile racing too, so it wasn't quarter mile. 8th mile racing, and yesterday when I lost, I red lit yesterday to end the day, and a few pairs after me, actually, a gentleman crashed into the wall, so he had to get evacuated to the hospital. I hope that man is doing well. I don't recall his name. He went basically through the wall at Maple Grove. They had to spend a significant amount of time fixing the wall. I believe they finished that round, and that was it for the weekend. So, well wishes to that man. I don't know what his name was. He was driving a Camaro, and hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, I kind of just took it easy all weekend. It's been kind of a long, hard summer, and my honey-do list was accumulating pretty large. I was going all weekend a little punting, and the last race of our association was this weekend. It was kind of the one I looked forward to all year. It's a neat little 8th mile track that's just trying to get going. Like I said, it was the one I was most excited about all year, and after last weekend in Kearney, I just said, I'm going to be done for the year. Got a lot of stuff to do, and had to try to get my other responsibilities done. And unfortunately, I think I just stared at my phone and looked at results and was text messaging, trying to figure out what was happening at the track. So I probably should have just went. I would have been just as effective as I was, but there's some pretty cool stuff happening this weekend.
I was a lazy man this weekend. I had been on the road for 7 weeks in a row. It was time to take a break.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know, here in the north central part of the country, I guess, or in South Dakota, winter's coming, and it's really long, and I don't want to be sick of it and regret not going to that race last weekend for probably the next 4 months, but, I guess there's still lots of stuff to do. I'm going to rebuild some stuff on the car and get ready to go, and my goal is try to make it to Arizona in the winter and try to break it up a little bit and go to some of those races, so all part of the game. It's nice, though, kind of nice just to hang out on the couch. It was my son's birthday, so we got to have family over and do some of that stuff, and it's just kind of a balance, it's so hard to balance running hard on the weekend, you want to go racing, and yet all the other stuff too. So I can really appreciate some of the guys. Like I see, like you think of some of the bigger people like Bo Butner and some of those guys like every single weekend out on the road. And I don't know if I'm strong enough mentally to do that. I get about 3 days of racing in and I'm just shot. I'm ready for a break.
Well, I know where you're coming from because about 10 years ago, I could do running around. I was gone for 9-10 weeks in a row with no problem at all. Nowadays, after about 2 or 3 races in a row, I'm going, man, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I feel you.
I will say the one race that I probably would have really liked to go to was in Memphis. You guys catch that at all? That, what was it, $1 million to win race? But they actually had a $5,000 to win golf cart race.
Yeah, how ironic was that both guys running on the same golf cart was in the finals?
We've been trying to find results from this golf cart race. Do you know what happened? Joe, who won? Who won the golf cart race? Give us some insight.
Now you're going to make me look it up.
Absolutely.
Oh,
all right, Joe, here's the deal. While you look that up, I'm going to blow through some results here.
Yeah, you go ahead.
We had a divisional double weekend out in Phoenix, Arizona, Division 7. And in Stock Eliminator for race number 1, we had Phil the Mandela Jr. take the win over Mike Williams in Super Stock for race number 1. Jimmy D. Frank over Jody Lang. Talk about 2 killers right there. Now, race 2. Okay. Everybody's heard the buzz about race 2, Stock Eliminator. A gentleman by the name of Gary Hampton in a front-wheel drive 1986 Cavalier took the win over Steve Wan. And more on that in a couple seconds here. And then Super Stock. Yeah, let's get that applause. Steve Hahn. Okay, so Steve Wan lost in stock, but Steve Hahn won Super Stock over Lindy Lindholm. That was in Arizona. And then there was a Division 4 race in Noble, Oklahoma. In Stock Eliminator, Gary Emmons from the successful Emmons Family Racing over Hayden Trumbull. And in Super Stock, Jacob Pitt, who also qualified number 1, took the win over David Latino. And just to round out, I want to let everybody know what's going on in the points. In national points for Stock Eliminator, our top 5 drivers right now in stock are David Latino at number 1, Jody Lang, number 2, Kyle Rizzoli and Brett Candies are tied for 3rd, and number 5, Shane Oakes from Division 1 representing. In Super Stock, we have Division 1 again. Brian Warner is in the lead over number 2, David Latino. So David Latino is number 1 in stock, number 2 in Super Stock. Number 3 in Super Stock is Jeff Dona. Number 4 is Anthony Bertozzi. And number 5 is Mark Nowicki. Just to give everyone some insight as to what's going on in top 5 national points. All right, Joe, did you find out what happened with that golf cart race?
Yeah, Alan Wickel and Tracy Guffey was the 2 drivers of that golf cart. Same golf cart in the finals. I can't believe it. I mean, how ironic would that be? The same, same golf cart.
So
2 drivers like that.
They double entered a golf cart, and
yep.
I'm guessing race to the 330 foot mark. Is that what they do?
I didn't stay on to watch it. I had enough after it was raining and all that stuff, and I didn't even watch it. To tell you the honest truth, I couldn't tell you how far they were going.
I was involved in a golf cart race at Maple Grove one time. That's what we did to the 330 foot mark, and I was on a golf cart that once you hit the pedal, it waited like a second and a half before it went, so you had to leave as soon as it was like a top bulb racing. As soon as that top bulb came on, whack the pedal on the golf cart, and you'd still be green.
That sounds a lot like that sounds a lot like your Mustang.
After I burned up a $300 starter generator, I didn't get into no more golf cart races.
I've always wanted to do that. I got a Polaris Ranger I use at work, and I'm always waiting for the pit vehicle race. And this year at Cedar Falls, it rained out, and there were some kids that put together a little golf cart race or pit vehicle race, and there was a little mini bike, and there were some golf carts. So I went flying over there with my Ranger, and it was kind of wet, but I had to spot them 10 car lengths And it was actually about even. I'd spot him 10 golf carts, and it was just about a dead heat. So, but nothing official going down the track. That'd be even better yet. Local races, we had like I said, our last association race. I want to give a shout out to James Jurgens. Actually got his first win. He's been driving the wheels off that car. He goes to a lot of divisional events. He's made it. I think he made it to the final. I want to say he was the final in St. Louis. But he's really been driving good. He finally put a W on the ticket, and this is really cool. They're great guys. You see him out there. His son's really good on the junior dragsters too. Just a great family. But he went out. He got the win. Just congratulations for that. And then Sunday, Tanner Weiss actually won with his Corvette. I believe that was his first win too. So they're both in our Race of Champions for next year for the Midwest Class Racers. So that was pretty neat. Let's see, who's runner-up was Kelly Peterson on day 2. And I'm trying to think who was runner-up on Saturday.
It's nice to see some first-time winners. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 1 qualifier. Let's see. Hopkins was out there with his G-Stock automatic, laying her down. He went just about $110 under. So that car's pretty bad fast. He was number 1 qualifier, I believe, both days. Yep.
You guys get some serious fields out there for that Midwest race. I keep an eye on what you guys doing and stuff, and I can't believe the car counts you guys get for those races.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome as far as starting out and learning how to drive in that crew. It's pretty serious. I think it's always, I mean, every single race we go to, even this one, they still had, I want to say 38 cars, 39 cars, something like that. You know, and a lot of guys don't like 8th mile racing, so that could hurt it, but this is pretty cool. You know, that's probably one of our smaller events. You get almost 40 cars, like, how can you go wrong there?
Yeah, what, oh, I know what it was. It was that Maple Grove divisional race. I could not believe the people that, when they decided to make out an 8th mile race, the people that left that race. You already paid your money. What the heck? Go for it.
I was there for that race. I felt the same way. I was driving for somebody. I was driving for a fella from New York named Mark Sargente, and when they changed it to 8th mile, we were staying. We weren't going to leave for that. They did offer you a refund if you wanted to leave. You were entitled to a full refund, which I thought was very kind of Division I to do. I did leave. Nice. Yeah, we left on. We got through the first round on Sunday, and my opponent had left. But Monday, I couldn't stay for Monday, so a bunch of people left that had to go to work on Monday. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about, if the people that left on Monday, or if it was the people that left on Sunday when they just changed it to 8th mile.
Yeah, on Sunday. Now it's you gotta go to work. You gotta go to work. That's just one of them things. I mean, it was a bad deal all the way through. So there was a no-win situation for a lot of the racers.
Right. There wasn't rain in that forecast. That was just a botched forecast. And then I was at Maple Grove yesterday, and they said all weekend rain is coming at 2 o'clock on Sunday, and at like 1:45 it started raining. So they were spot on with that one. They were just off with the forecast for that divisional a couple weeks ago.
You know, in Division 3, we call that place the rainforest.
It is. It's like in a little valley, pockets of water get stuck in there, and they just don't leave.
Yeah, touch base on that race at Autumn. I found it. It was actually Steve Copine and James Jurgens for the final on Saturday. James got him, I believe. I think Steve red lit, from what I understand. But just great guys. It's nice to see different people in the final. You know, nobody likes the guy that's in there all the time. And then Saturday was Tanner Weiss against Kelly Peterson, which was driving one of the Copine cars. But great turnout. Like, love or hate 8th mile, quarter mile. I like it. I like the variation, and I'll support any racetrack that's open. Just like I said, I've said it before. Don't support them, they might go away, and then guess what? We're driving a lot further to go to racetracks. So thanks for everybody for coming out for that. And it was a good fun season for Midwest Class Racers, and I can't wait for next year.
Now, you guys don't run a points deal there, right?
No, they don't run points.
Yeah.
They do pretty good payout, and they're actually doing what they call a Race of Champions this year. So anybody that's won a race qualifies for the Race of Champions next year. So it's $5,000 to the winner for all the race winners from the last season. They
Yeah, you guys will have to decide who gets the free stat book for the year.
yeah, that's it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out with multiple winners, or if everybody can come. I think they're actually gonna go into, if one of the winners can't go, they're actually gonna go to, I believe, a runner-up system, something like that. Which so far I've got one runner-up this year, so that's kind of I was hoping to put a win on it and seal my fate to the Race of Champions. But interesting stat for you to put in your book for next year is how many times you've lost to the winner of a race, because I do believe I may hold the record for that this year. Possibly world record of all time. I was looking at my races. I think I've went 18 times this year, and I got to really dig into it, but I've lost to the winner, I believe, 14 of the 18 times. The person I've lost to has won the whole event. So that's
I lost the same guy 3 times in a row one day.
In a day. Wow.
I mean, I was there for the kicking.
I think I've lost to the same guy every race. It's myself. But
I had to do that yesterday. I had to race a guy first round. He beat me. You were allowed to buy back in. I bought back in, come around again, and line up next to him again, and I had to race him again. And I beat him. And then it was just, out of all those 300 cars there, it was I had to race the same guy within an hour of each other.
I hate that. Like, this year I think I've raced this one guy just at bracket races. I probably raced him 4 times this year, and 2 of the times were back to back. Like, we went up one, I beat him. He was just dead late in the tree. I won. They're like, "Oh, the tree was wrong. We have to rerun that race." I'm like, man, you know,
no.
at some point it's hard to beat the same guy. Like, I'm not really a game player, so it's just, here's what it is, and it's hard to beat the same guy 2 times in a row, you know. And at some point you're not going to win every single time. So I just hate that. That would be my nightmare.
We all have those certain drivers. I mean, I have a couple guys in super stock I can't beat. And then I have a couple good, well-known drivers that I'm fortunate enough to get by every time I've gotten paired up against. So, yeah, to have to race the same person 2 or 3 times in one day, oh, that's crazy.
Well, did you guys happen to notice? I gotta find it here. Did you see who Gary had? Like,
I'm looking at it right now. I wanted to get to that.
there was no ducks in that list. Like, talk about picking a bad spot on the ladder.
I do believe he qualified toward the bottom. I think he was he qualified number 52. He was 22 under. So
I think he took Jody out in the semis.
he took Jody out in the semis. Let's start with round 1 here, though. Brian, he takes out John Dorlet, I believe is how you pronounce his name, with a 000 light, and he runs 1544 on, I believe, a 1537 dial-in. So 000 light with the front-wheel drive car. That's pretty crazy.
That's not the light you want first round. Like, I want to save that. I don't want to burn that up first round.
That's a tough call, you know. I guess you just want to put a solid 15 light first round and take that win, right?
I just can't believe a front-wheel drive car running that consistent, because, I mean, watching front-wheel drive cars for 20 years now, I haven't seen too many at all be that consistent.
Well, he qualified 1537 with a 9, and the fastest he went was first round 1544 with a 2, and in the final he was 1549 with a 1. So, yeah, it's crazy. We've got Kopetkas around here run those. I think he calls it the slow rolla. Him and his dad run them, and they're like 18 seconds, 17 seconds, and everybody just like, oh man, I have to sit there and wait forever. You know, I just
don't look like Steve waited.
Well, that would be hard. And I heard there was something about when you went to get up on the 2-step, the light, or basically that's what happened is when you went to whack
When
it.
the car pulled through.
Yeah.
Okay, it must have. It says 499 red. Usually that That's probably an indicator that two-step didn't hold or
Right.
I've
something.
had a couple of those myself at the beginning of
His
the year.
leg got tired.
Yeah, right. You have to do a count in your mind. You know, you're giving the guy a 5-second head start. I feel like you have to count to like 3 or at least 3, and then get on your two-step.
Well-
Okay, guys, can I tell you a story?
Go ahead.
All right. I won a NHRA national event. They had a bracket thing. It was 0 to whatever. We didn't have no delay boxes back then. We run a Pro Tree handicap on a 4/10 Pro Tree handicap. And in the semifinals, I had to run a guy 1899, and I was dialed 975. And I was saving 2/10 because I had a pair of tires that weren't balanced on the back, so if you tried to run fast, it'd just shake you clear out of the car. And in the finals, I had to run a guy that was running nitrous, and my dad run over to me, and I didn't have no clue what nitrous was at that time. And anyway, go back to that 1899 car. I counted to 9. When I seen his side of the tree come down, I counted 9. And I put it on the trans brake. I said, "Come on, tree, you're coming." Then I run a guy in the finals, and we were both way under because he kept on shooting the nitrous. And Dad said, the last time you come up on him, he said, let him go. As soon as he shoots the nitrous, let him go. And I let him go, and I won the race.
Oh man.
Nice.
Well, yeah.
I didn't know what nitrous was back then, but you're talking about counting. Yeah, it's hard to count when you see the speed.
I don't give too many head starts, but very few and far between for me. But when I've done it, it's been in bracket racing too, like a Honda or something like that. And I had to count like 4 or 5 seconds in my head before getting on the two-step.
One of the first time, I think it was actually the very first time I went to a drag strip was on a Labor Day weekend, probably 2010 or 11. I had a 68 Charger that John McLaughlin helped me restore, and he's like, "Oh, you got to come to the racetrack." And my uncle went, but I'd never really done it before, so like, "What? Okay, let's go." I raced a Dish Network like work van, had the ladder racks on top. We were running like street class or street trophy, whatever. And I think he dialed like a 23 something. And I was like 12, I think like 1250s or 1280s that car would run, and I'm just like, how does this work? I'm like, isn't he slower? And they're like, well, the lights will change. And I'm like, well, how do I know when to go? And like, just, you got a long time to think about it, that's for sure. Luckily, I haven't had one of those yet.
Well, let's finish going through the lineup here that Gary Hampton took out. So, round 2, he takes out Mark Kirby. He cuts an 039 light. Still to me impressive in the front wheel drive car. Because no deep staging allowed in stock, as everybody knows. So, I mean, this guy's got to be leaving, as the second yellow's going out, I would think. Now,
well, and Kirby was 017, right? Am I looking at that right?
I don't have Kirby's number in front of me. What was Kirby 017? I know Hampton dialed a 1543. So, I don't know what Kirby's numbers were.
Well, hold on a second.
I'm looking at a sheet here that somebody put on our Facebook page of all the runs, and it said, I think he was 039 with a 1544 with a 7, and then there's a .017. So is that margin of...
017 means how far off his dial he was. So he dialed a
I gotcha,
1543.
yeah.
He went a 44 with a 7.
That makes sense.
Took out... All right, get a load of this now. Takes out Ryan Mangus in 3rd round. Killer. Takes out Cody Lane. 4th round. Killer. Takes out who I think's the best driver in the country, Jody Lang, 5th round. Absolute killer. And then gets the win against Steve Wan in the final. I mean, Gary Hampton, what a day.
Hey, the package you put on Cody Lang?
001 light against Cody Lane, right? To 026, I forgot to say the lights. 026 light against Mangus in the 3rd round. 001 against Cody Lane. 015 against Jody Lang. My goodness. I need to go to the Gary Hampton School of Reaction Times.
Well, and,
Yeah, he was driving.
and
He was on motion.
who wants to run against Magnus, Lang, and Juan? Like,
I mean, I got a ladder program I can sell you, Hampton, but I don't think you need it.
If you can drive like that, you're not scared of anyone.
Oof.
It was just cool. I guess I was just talking to a friend on the way back. He's like, man, it's incredible. He's like, it was really cool. He said he's just a super down to earth guy. You know, he's out there with the open trailer, pulling it with his Journey. You know, he doesn't have a stacker trailer. He's just a baller on a budget as far as I'm concerned. I mean, open trailer like that, go on, laying down hitters like that, like, that's a race. He'll be able to, I mean, you're going to tell everybody about that. Your grandkids will know about that day.
Oh, yeah.
So, good job on that. I mean, that's awesome. That's the weekend everybody wants.
Congrats, Mr. Hampton. I do want to mention something else real quick about the Phoenix race. I noticed that Mike Graham and BJ Graham. Mike Graham drives a super stock 2000 Mustang. His wife BJ used to drive a 1975 Mustang, I believe, in T-stock automatic. And Mike went to the Phoenix race, and he put out a thank you to Mike Rice. I think that's the Division 7 director. I'm not sure. But he said Mike Rice and the staff at Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park were very, very helpful. They made special accommodations for Mike and his wife BJ to attend that race. I guess to get them, you know, in a pit spot that would be helpful for their current situation. And I just thought that was very nice of Mike Rice. Thank you very much for what you did there, Mike. And best wishes and prayers to Mike and BJ Graham. Hope that their situation, you know, the Lord sheds a little bit of light on them and things go well for them going forward. So I just wanted to mention that. All right. Now, Nitro, we have a couple questions for you. I mean, I have a couple questions for you. You already answered one, though. I wanted to know exactly where you were from. And
we did have a Facebook question too. Nitro, did you just down a beer?
Did I do what?
Somebody wants to know on Facebook, did you just down a beer?
No, Sprite. It ain't 5 o'clock yet.
Hey, aren't they in a lawsuit? We can't mention them on this podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, if you got some Camping World toilet paper in there, we can probably talk about it. But.
so,
unless they want to advertise.
Somebody knows that I put something else in my Sprite at times.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh well.
So hey, thanks for asking questions on Facebook. That's what makes this fun.
yes.
Not a stat question. They want to know about my drinks.
Yeah, we do have.
I have to address Ryan Horensky. He said he remembers Danny Bastianelli putting nitrous on his golf cart during a golf cart race at Maple Grove. When you're in the staging lanes, I was there at the bracket finals. I think it was 2008. This guy, Danny Bastianelli, is already like one of the funniest, craziest dudes I ever met when I was a little kid. And when he did that day, I was like, oh my God, this guy is just, I met him in like 92. This was 2008. This guy's just as crazy as I remember. So yeah, Horensky, I remember that. I was there.
That's awesome. We got Brian Werner also said that, did we notice Irving's ran each other in a heads up first round both days at Phoenix?
Oh, how'd we miss that? I guess because I was racing this weekend, I missed it.
I missed it because I was raking leaves and putting together birthday cakes and all that fun stuff. But
I guess we were lazy. We thought we knew we had Nitro coming on. We thought he would just clear up all of our mishaps. But thanks for the update there, Warner. I'm gonna look that up. So,
how did
Nitro though? Go ahead.
How'd you get started in keeping track of all these stats, anyways, Nitro?
Well, I raced up until 1995, and it just got too hard for me racing because I've had cerebral palsy all my life, and it was just getting too hard to get in the car, and it was mentally draining me. You know how being a racer, how it drains you anyhow. Well, it was draining me twice as bad as it drained a normal person. It just wasn't worth it anymore. So I sold, you like this, I sold a truck, trailer, race car, and house all in 3 weeks and moved out in the country. I was just going to be by myself, my wife, and the kids and stuff, and heck with racing. Well, I started working on this stat stuff, and I'd go to races every once in a while with my parents and stuff, and finally Jack McCarthy knew that I was keeping this stat stuff, and he had me make up some books for the 98 Spring Nationals at Columbus. and they took off like gangbusters since.
Indeed, the books, I really enjoy the stat books. When I found out about them, I guess it was about 5 or 6 years ago. A great way to, I mean, it helped me, honestly. I would go look through my combo, see how everybody's running. Another combo that my dear friend Jamie Shanley was running in Super Stock in his GTQ Automatic Maverick. He was the only guy in the country doing it. I noticed that in your stat book, and we got a couple horsepower reductions. So thanks, Nitro Joe, for that one.
I'm guessing
Well,
like 90% of racers already know who Nitro Joe is, but he actually does keeps track of a stats book, so he could tell you any combination, what the average runs are. He does a really good job of keeping track of what the combos are running, average. I believe it's averages, fast, slow. Most everybody has it. I didn't really know much about it until last year when automatic horsepower, right? Like, do you get reduced or is it a chance? And just learning into it. It's a great tool. If you don't have it, reach out, get a hold of Nitro Joe. We'll post a link to his website where you can order a book and just start doing a little research, diving in. Maybe you're building a car and want to see a good combo to get into, and that would be a great tool for that also.
well, I have a lot of people anymore getting a hold of me, like when they get ready to buy a car, and they'll tell me about a certain car they're getting ready to buy. I say, give me a car number. I says, I can give you stats for the last 10 years on that car. And, you know, a couple times it's funny. They said, oh, the person we buying this car off of said it could go 90 under. I said, yeah, if it falls off the side of a cliff.
I didn't even think of that. Great idea there, Nitro.
I got to make a mental note now. If I ever want to sell my car, I just need to go to the East Coast where it's easy to go fast, and I'll run there for a year to get my stats up.
Yeah.
You know how to make a slow car fast, don't you, Joe?
Oh, yeah.
Go race on the East Coast.
Hey, our Englishtown track closed. That was a 60-foot altitude. Not there anymore. So.
Well, hey, guys, you know how they used to sell cars? A lot of guys used to do this stuff. They would go to a racetrack, and if they knew the racetrack guy's good enough, they'd get on the computer and have a guy stand on the start line and a guy down at the finish line. You can print up some nice, quick time slips.
That's. I know a couple people at Maple Grove. That's a good idea. Why didn't I think of that before? Hey Joe, how about when NHRA started posting, averages on NHRA Racer? Is that kind of like affect your your business or anything?
No, because my stat stuff is more or less everybody's fastest runs, where they did it, what round they did it. And the stuff that they're posting on the NHRA site is everybody's averages for the engine family and that combination and everything else, which the only time I'll give out that information if one of my customers or something, hey, they'll send me an email saying, hey, can you give me an average of what my combination is? I can give you an average, but I do not know the criteria of what NHRA goes through to come up with some of these averages. So I just say, here's the averages for what I got. And I take out the exempt runs or the mine shaft runs, and here's your average.
Okay.
But no, they have not affected me one bit by posting the stuff that they posted.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Joe, how do you technically get your stats? Do you get them? Are you like hooked up to CompuLink site, or are you just going on like Drag Race Central, or is this something proprietary that you don't want to share with us? You don't have to share anything you don't want to share. I was just
I get everything from NHRA,
okay.
and I'm the only one outside the NHRA family I think it gets it. And it's been a deal where I've had with them for 25 years now, and we've had no problems.
Oh.
Are you for hire, Joe? Maybe Enos, Texas could have had you at the end of the track telling people who they won and what their stats were when they crossed the stripe.
Well, they just needed a guy down there just to point to, you need to go to the scales.
It's heartbreaking.
Let's not bring that up anymore.
We can't bring that one up
no,
again.
Let's bury that in the dirt.
Lance Lyon, I'm sorry, man.
How you're kind of into all motorsports racing, aren't you? It's not just class racing, don't you? Aren't you kind of a dirt
Oh.
track guy and everything too?
Oh yeah. Well, I just got done doing top dragster, top sportsman stats for the last 3 races that was run this weekend. I just got done doing that stuff. So then, yeah, I'm big into dirt.
Did you guys see NASCAR is going to have a dirt race next year?
Yeah, Bristol. That they tried that. What I want to say 7 years ago or whatever. Run the sprint cars at Bristol. Said they blowed half of them up because they weren't ready for the big track.
Yeah, that would almost be. I haven't really followed NASCAR that much since the old. This doesn't seem like the days of Earnhardt and getting in and bumping and grinding. It was just a lot more exciting. But I don't know. I kind of want to watch them run on the dirt. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Too many sissies.
Yeah. That should be their motto.
Yeah. Well, as far
You
as the
bumped me. You bumped me. I'm hurting now.
now that you mentioned Bristol, though, why NHRA is not having any national event at Bristol? Does anybody have any
That
insight?
surprised me. I have no clue why Bristol ain't on the thing.
I wonder if it's like a to be determined type of thing, or they just axed it for the year. And Chicago, is Route 66 like officially closed now? Are they done for business?
Yep. That's what I heard.
I always wanted to make it out to that track.
Complex. I'm hearing it's going to be a housing complex.
Oh, wow.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's unfortunately just the world we live in. You never know. Some of these tracks are in tough shape, and who knows what the world has coming for us here. It's just you gotta get out and enjoy it when you can, and support even the local tracks. I say it all the time. I feel like I'm on a soapbox, but nobody's got it perfect. But if we're not there, they're not going to be there either. So you just got to keep it on.
Well, I feel for track owners right now. I mean, it's uncertain avenue right now.
Well, you take rain delays, and like in our area last year, our precipitation was double of what the normal average was, and the tracks just really struggled. I mean, it seemed like every weekend was rain out. There's not a lot of profit in it. When you start taking out 50% of their race days, or even 25%, that's huge.
Now, have you guys noticed more and more racetracks that have more paved area are having problems with water coming up through their tracks?
We don't have too many tracks like that. I know there's our local track here at Thunder Valley, which it's been around a long time, but I think they have problems with last year. Quite a few where the moisture will come wicking up to the track. I believe Rock Falls, something when they resurfaced it, they did everything the way NHRA wanted it done when they redid it. I think this year when I was there, they had a couple issues with water weeping up to the track, but there's not super huge, large areas of paved areas, so I don't know. I haven't noticed that so much where I go.
Maple Grove's always had a weepage problem. One time, I think it was the 2009 Keystone Nationals we saw all weekend. That's all we had, weeping. And I remember Warren Johnson got squirrely in a qualifying pass, and he was furious when he got out of his car. But I did want to mention, Brian, that I took your advice last week, and I did thank the burnout guy this weekend. When I was in the burnout box, the car in front of us broke. We had to back up and chill for about 5 minutes. So he came over, told me to back up, and I just said, "Hey, thanks for all you're doing today. I appreciate it." We started running at 9 a.m. and we didn't finish until almost 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And
did you remember to thank the lady
stuff
at the buy back office, or?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't. And she gave me a gift too when I bought back in. I'm sure I thanked her for the gift though.
Nice.
You had a choice between ISC racer tape, Lucas Oil Slick Mist, which I use religiously, and Driven. What the Joe Gibbs brand, Driven, has their own version of spray wax, so I decided to try that one this time. And thanked her for that. Okay.
You probably got a whole collection after all weekend.
That was only on Sunday.
Oh.
I would have had a whole collection.
Yeah, but they got a collection of his dollar bills too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially you bought back in.
Oh yeah. Well, I did have a sponsor this weekend. My friend Don Stilley, who I met last year. He lets me park my motorhome and trailer on his property. He was racing there this weekend, and he bought me back in on Saturday. Hell of a nice guy, and I got the 4th round for him. So, want to thank Don Stilley if he's listening.
I turned it on Saturday night, the Maple Grove race on the computer, and they were into a reaction time contest.
Yes, I was just going to tell you that too, because I said we raced until about 10 o'clock at night. Then there was this reaction time. I was getting ready to go to my motorhome, call it a night, and I saw everybody gathering at the starting line. And I don't know how they picked. I think it was about 12 or 16 guys to do a reaction time. They raced to the 60-foot marker, and that was it. But if you got if you cut a 000 light, you got $1,000. If you cut a 00 light, you got $100. And all these guys were just doing crazy burnouts and making a spectacle of this whole thing. My one friend Rob Snyder had he had his friend Rory in spandex.
Did somebody lock up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Because this story is about to get interesting. Rob Snyder in a Granada had his friend Rory in like these spandex shorts and cowboy boots and an American flag on his back. And Rob did a burnout all the way out to like the 330-foot marker, and then Rory was backing him up, kind of like a Jungle Pam style backup. And
He took the cape off.
he took the cape off. He had a Trump flag on his back. They did like a bull launch with the car through the Trump flag. It was like, it was kind of scary. And then Rob cuts a 006 light and gets $100 on top of it. So it was craziness.
There must have been a full moon. Like I was watching the golf cart race, and even then, that just looked like a pretty crazy environment. So, a lot of fun to be had this weekend at the racetrack.
I think it's a more family-friendly environment at the NHRA class racing events. And if you don't have your kids around, then I guess you go to one of these millions or these bracket racing events at night and see what goes on at those after hours.
I was gonna make a comment about stalkers being in bed by the time that's all going on, but that's
Yeah,
Not-
you got a long stock at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, that's what I was used to.
who's gonna wake people up if we all stay up that late?
Yeah, every morning at Indianapolis this year, I was up at 6:25 because Super Street had a run at 7. My brother was there running Super Street, so guess what? Every single morning. Oh man.
Have you ever thought
that thing?
Have you ever thought about keeping driver stats on reaction times or?
Oh, I got them if I wanted to do them.
That's a book that would be nice. All right, I'm going up against this guy. Grab the book. What's his game? What's he holding? What's his reaction times? That'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I could do them, but just how far do you want to go with stats? That's just like all the comp racers want me to do all the increments. I said, you guys are crazy. I don't have that much time on my hands.
If they have lots of money, you can do it for them and charge them a ton.
So what are you doing when you're not keeping track of stats and feeding all of us junkies with info?
It's like messing around with my model collection. I sent you some pictures of my model collection.
So do you put them together, or do you just collect them in the box?
I was putting them together. I few and far between these days. I got 1,300 model kits.
Oh wow!
I just got the Bill Jenkins car just the other day in the mail. That's my latest one. I bought the old 73 Pro Stock Vega kit. I just got it the other day. Like I say, I'm going to get back into building some more because I want to slow down in the wintertime. Biggest thing I do anymore is play with my grandson on Xbox.
What's your game?
He likes playing Grand Theft Auto.
I thought you were gonna say what's the other one?
Huh?
What's the other game all the kids play? Fortnite. I thought maybe
Fortnite.
Nitro Joe would have be the Fortnite
No.
name. I'm gonna look that up.
I like playing SnowRunner.
So when you do there's like a funny model story. So I have an uncle that he passed away with leukemia when he was young, but I got to spend quite a bit of time with him at my grandma's house, and he kind of taught me how to do models. Like that was his thing, put together model cars, and like. So the way I was taught to put a model together is first you have to put the upholstery on the seats. So he would take fabric and cover all the seats up, and then we'd get the yarn cut, and you'd get the motor all painted, and then he would actually run spark plug wires with with the thread. So all my model motors had spark plugs, and all the spark plug wires, and all the interiors were upholstered. Of course, it was the early 80s, so you had to put some upholstery on the dash, and then I'd put all the motors together and have them all lined up, so then we'd swap motors. So like we'd go race when it wasn't fast enough, we'd take maybe the dual 4-barrel setup and switch it with the supercharged setup. So yeah, as a little kid, that's how I was taught to do models, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Just maybe when my family's gone, that'll be my go-to for the winter.
I need to go to the Warren Monteith model building school. God, he's unreal how he builds them models.
Oh, that's insane.
I mean, it's unreal watching him hit some of the kits that he's had come out lately.
The problem I always had is I could never wait for everything to dry. Like I could detail it perfectly, and then I'd be in a hurry and I'd slap it together and have a really detailed out, like the motor was all detailed out, and there's a big old thumbprint right on top of the car.
Glue.
Yeah.
I get more glue on my fingers than I was getting in the, on the model. I used to love putting those together when I was a kid.
Well, the biggest thing I do anymore lately, I've been, a long time ago, I built, when all the Pro Mod models were coming out, I built all the different chassis, the Plymouth chassis, the Ford chassis, the Chevy chassis, and all that. Now when I get a stocker kit of any kind, I'll take the body out of the box and set it on that Pro modified chassis of one of the 3 chassis I got, because all the wheelbases are different, and see how it looks on a Pro Mod body. I said, this could be a a Pro Mod car here. So I get into stuff like that, just mess around. I build a lot of car haulers too, so I scratch build my car haulers.
Nice. What?
How long does it take to do one?
What, a car hauler or a model kit?
Well, like I want to. That's what I want to ask Warren Monteith. Like, how long does it take him to get one of those?
Dude, I bet you it takes him months. As detailed as he is on stuff, I mean, the most I've ever spent on model kits 2 weeks, if that. But I know his has got to take longer than that. I mean, they're so detailed. I mean, it's just unreal the detail work he does.
Impressive. I wonder what the wait list is to get your.
Well, I heard that he's cut everybody off now, just that he needs to catch up on what he's got on orders, and he ain't taking no more orders in for a long time now.
Oh.
Would it still be fun if it became that much work?
Do what?
I said, would it still be fun putting them together if it became a job like that?
Well, okay, you're asking a question. I keep on telling everybody when they ask me much longer are you going to do stats? I said when it turns into a job.
Right.
Because like last weekend, I did 7 races last weekend. Had to do stats for.
So like when you're doing stats like that, do you notice, like what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the last 5 years?
Everybody running consistent and stock, super stock. A lot of that I think comes back to, and maybe I'm wrong on saying this, I think a lot of people run that grid anymore. It's making the cars more consistent, run the grid. But I've noticed big time stock, super stock cars are running. I mean, they're running the same thing every single run. I mean, it's almost like being a super class car, Do
you think there should be separate classes for fuel injected versus carbureted cars?
Oh, I've thought that since day one. I've been a big person to say the carburetor car don't need to be in the same class as a fuel injection car. I'm sorry. I don't care who I offend. I've never agreed with the fuel injection being in the same class as a carburetor car.
I don't know, Bobby. You might have another anti-E-shift guy on your hands here.
Well,
That's just me, because it's just, I'm old. I'm too old school. That's my problem. I'm too old school.
Well,
Well,
not,
some guys do believe, they think they're carbureted car. I mean, if you pose that question on Facebook or Class Racer, and there's a certain number of guys that come on and say carburetor's better, carburetor's faster. I can go faster in a carburetor than I can with fuel injection. And then you have the fuel injection guys say, no, you can't. I have to think fuel injection would be faster than a carburetor because there's just so much more you can do.
Yeah,
You
fuel
can tune
injection.
the timing and the fuel delivery of each individual cylinder. You can't. How are you gonna do that with a carburetor?
but essentially, you get some of the same things with the grid. You can do some of those same things then.
You can do the timing with the grid, but
So you could
I can
argue
adjust
that
my pulse width with how much actual fuel gets sprayed into each cylinder with my fuel injection.
So essentially, you could argue that the grid needs to be in there with the fuel injection cars. I mean, basically anything semi-computer controlled would have to be in the same class.
Well, I was kind of surprised that the grid even got allowed in stock, super stock, to tell you the honest truth. That's my thoughts. I was surprised when they allowed it.
And it goes back to, like, we were talking about a little bit last week about E-Shift. Is it right to put that in a car that never had a computer-controlled transmission? I could argue in my 2000 Camaro that it was computer-controlled, so that's not much differently.
But I realize why the grid is allowed because of the computer cars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about the only way you're going to make a a fuel injection car run right is to have a grid in there anymore with the fuel injection cars. I mean,
But even
maybe
look at race pack data. I mean, essentially that's no different. I mean, you're still using a computer to record the data of what your car is doing, which makes it more consistent, makes them more competitive.
Here's what's sad about the cars nowadays. I mean, it's good and it's sad. I was with my buddy. I go racing with a buddy of mine, Rich South, all the time, and both his cars are fuel-injected cars. Well, we were down at Rockingham last year at the end of the year, and a buddy of mine, Jeff Neiswanger, was tuning the cars with a computer. And the one day with the Corvette, we picked up 3/10, and we never took a screwdriver out of the trailer. I mean, I'm just looking, thinking, okay, I'm old school. I said, usually we got to do this and this and change the hanger on the carburetor to do something different here. And, here we are on the laptop just dialing for dollars.
Yeah, and reading data and then making changes. I don't care what system you're using. That's fine to me. Making changes at your trailer, but when you have a programmable box that's making changes, let's say, going down track, it's adjusting timing based on, something that has been programmed. Like if you're programming an ET or something into this box that's counting your drive shaft revolution, I don't know, something crazy like that, that's making changes for your consistency going down the track. Well, then that's a different ballgame right there.
I was at St. Louis at the points meet there the weekend before the national meet, and I went over by the fence to watch the superclass run time trials and stuff, and you could tell who had the grid and who didn't. You could hear them come down track. You could hear that baby kicking in and kicking out in high gear there, and you're going, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. With you watch all motorsports, Joe, so, I mean, I don't care what you're doing. Anytime you're racing, there's gray areas, and everybody's looking for that next little edge, next little thing to make you better. Whether it's a grid or running computer control, or, even some of these no-prep cars, running traction control, they have G-force meters that, depending on how hard it's pulling timing. I mean, I don't know, it's like, what's the next step? I feel like pure stock has kind of gotten gray, but I also think part of continuing the sport and to grow it, some of that grayness is probably needed. I mean, you can't eliminate a car with a computer because, let's face it, there's not a lot of new people coming into this sport, and there's different cars.
Well, you know what they do? They go back and tell us, we don't like the way things are right now. Go run the nostalgia deals.
Yeah.
If you're old school like me, go run the nostalgia deals if you don't like the way things are now. I said, okay.
Well, even look at transmissions. I mean, if you want to argue the E-Shift isn't right, but yet we can run a G-Force or a Liberty or Jericho transmissions, that's not original how they were either. I mean,
I know.
You still have to improve it, and you have to make it we need to welcome more people and try to get more people into it with more variations of cars. So it's hard to, I think, and that's some of where the whole stock, super stock, mentality comes from. Like, well, this isn't the way it used to be, but yet we have to open it up. If we want new people to do it, you're going to have to be a little more inviting to all different types and technologies.
Well, I don't think that helps new people come in now. When you keep allowing things, okay, now I got to go spend $1,000 on a ring package that shouldn't have been allowed in stock. I have to go spend however much, I don't know how much the Cheetah E-Shift stuff is, but I got to buy that to keep up with this guy. I have to keep spending more and more money. You're never going to get a new, what 18 to 25 or 18 to 30 year old is going to be able to afford to run Stock Eliminator under this umbrella of rules that you have right now. It was supposed to be, as far as I know, Nitro, you can clarify this, it was supposed to be an entry class. Like, you were back in the day, didn't you just take your car that you drove to work every day and you could like come and run Stock Eliminator with it and go home? And
yep.
It's turned into what super stock was, I guess, back in the 90s. Now it's, if you are going to allow everybody to change their lifters, if you're going to allow everybody to put whatever else they're allowed to do nowadays, I don't know. Wasn't there a manifold allowed, but now it's not allowed anymore on the Chryslers?
Here's a stat that'll scare you. How many racers in stock, super stock are under 50 years old?
5%.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the sad thing about the way things are right now in stock, super stock. You guys keep on talking about the new breed coming. The only new breed I see coming in stock, super stock right now is kids from parents that ran stock, super stock.
Right.
You don't see Joe Racer over here coming out 21 years old and I'm going to go run Stock Eliminator, and I have never seen or heard of Stock Eliminator in my life. You ain't, most of the junior dragster racers are going strictly to the super classes or bracket racing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel we're in trouble right now, people-wise, in stock, super stock, because of how many racers we have over the age of 50 years old. And then finally, sooner or later, they're going to say, I've had enough.
Well, and that's one thing that I like. Kind of one of the ideas I like beyond this podcast is I don't come from a racing background. My parents didn't drag race. I haven't done it. I'm 42 years old and I'm considered new. Like, I'm a young guy in the pits. I'm 42. It's my second year basically of drag racing. I love it. It's great, but
I've been at the racetrack since 1964.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then Robbie Shaw just calls me out and says, win a car in a raffle, that'll get you in it. So
Brian is legit like the only guy that I know in class racing that is new blood that came to the sport, not having family.
That is good.
And that's my kind of my passion, is how do you get more people into it? Like, how do you have to keep it simple enough. Like, my car is not super competitive. I'm not gonna go a second under. I mean, I'm running a class that's been beat like a redheaded dog. I mean, I've got a redhead stepchild, or beat like a dog, however you want to call it. But I got a 2000 Camaro. The LS one's just been pounded. It was probably underfactored. Now you could argue that it's overfactored. The stick combo is better. Someday, hopefully, that's where I'll go. But the things I'm working on is how can I cut the best lights possible. If I can try to be consistently close to a 00 light, and I can get my car to try to run the same thing, and a heads up, I'm a sitting duck. But if I can mow down the tree and just get the car to do the same thing every time, at least you got a chance. And it's actually been a lot of fun this year. But last year wasn't very much fun. I think I went out I probably went to 9 races, and I went out first round every time, but maybe two or three races I made it past first round. And it was frustrating. So without knowing anything about it, it's really tough. The great thing is with the whole community of stock, super stock racers, they've really kind of embraced me, brought me in, and you learn a lot really fast. Our Midwest class racers it's kind of like a second family. I mean, everybody's super helpful. They're giving you tips, little tricks, And that's what's really cool about it, but it's just how do you transition people that are maybe starting to do a little bit of bracket racing about coming into stock? Because it's probably one of the purest forms of racing still out there. I mean, there is a set of rules. You could argue if they're too gray, if they're not too gray, but I would say it's fair to say that we can't go back in time to the way it used to be either. I mean, that's not going to grow the class. That's what's neat about some of these slower cars. I mean, there's combos out there you can get into that are relatively, nothing's maybe cheap, but they're effective combos that are, you can do it fairly efficiently. You know, some of those the slow roller cars are, you know, the slow combos. They're
Go to the
probably
Billy Needs school combos.
yeah.
Dime rockets.
Yep, the dime rockets.
I mean, if I was gonna start right now and I'm like, I want to be a stock eliminator driver, if I would have known where I'm at now, I would have got a hold of Joe, got the stat book, and be like, all right, what's the easiest combo to get into to start? And I think
You go to India and buy the fastest car sitting there, and say, all I want you to do is take your helmet and jacket out of there. It's going in that trailer. You're not touching it.
that's funny. There's a guy that races here, the Ingalls. Doug Ingalls is the races comp and stock, super stock. And the first race I went to last year, they were sitting around and all their cars are just beautiful. You know, the stock, super stock cars are probably just some of the nicest, cleanest cars at a racetrack. And we're sitting around talking. They're like, oh, if I'm going to build another one, I'm going to go to the car show and I'm going to get the nicest Corvette on the show winning Corvette. And that's going to be my next race car. All the trim's correct and everything's there and it's clean and it's in good shape. And I'm just like, I want to be the guy that rolls up there with the slick after they write the check and like, oh, how much cutting do we have to do to get these to fit on there? Because you know that guy's going to cry himself to sleep if he knows it gets made into a race car.
Doug owned my mom's Corvette for a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
it was a couple tones of orange. It come from the East Coast. It was Bucky painted it. It said "Vicious Vet" on it.
Oh.
Yeah, I know Doug owned it for a little bit. Now it's up in South Dakota somewhere. It's changed hands a couple times now again.
Yeah, they seem to be the premier collector of Corvette stock cars. That seems like that's kind of neat walking their shop. There's some really cool cars in there.
I
Back
guess
to,
the dragster can be fixed. I heard the dragster can be fixed. I heard he took it to Jesse Plant and they put it on the jig, and I hear that it's repairable.
Yeah, the good thing, you know, he had that little mishap that I think one of the quotes I heard is, "I'm fine, everything hurts, but at my age, everything hurts anyways." So, you know,
Doug's a good guy. I like Doug.
oh yeah, great people, and
Yeah.
hopefully he gets that back together and keeps going for the rest of the year. It'd be nice to see him do good in comp. He's definitely had a run at it. It's still kind of anybody's race for what we have left.
Yeah, do you see the Treadwells went all the way out to Arizona from Florida to run comp out there? Jenny had a win and a runner-up.
That's putting some miles on, but we're in that time of year. I mean, guys,
Yeah.
not
Well, I
Chase
think they're
those
just trying to
points.
find races, to tell you the honest truth.
Yeah.
there's not going to be a lot of fuel savings for the next month.
I used to like doing my traveling at the beginning of the year when it was cold here in Pennsylvania to go down to Gainesville, Atlanta, Charlotte, four wide. Like that's
Bobby, was you at Gainesville when the stuff happened?
I was in Gainesville in 2015 and 2016.
Okay, I was there this year when everything went down.
No, I wasn't there this year.
It was kind of crazy down there.
Oh.
It was kind of crazy.
I heard. Brian wanted to touch on the bringing new, always we want to touch on bringing new blood into the sport. When I am at nationals and divisionals, when I'm racing, more so at nationals because there's a crowd there, I have a flyer stand and I have about 500 flyers that I bring. They have pictures of my cars on the front, but on the back they explain stock and super stock. It's a couple, like 2 paragraphs explaining the rules, explaining what the class consists of, how they come up with a class, a weight break, how the bracket style race works, and how a heads up race would work. And it's pretty cool. I run out of them every event. People take all the flyers. I try to talk to as many people as I can. Just the young kids tend to like my stocker better, the Fox Body Mustang, and then the older generation likes the super stocker, the 65 Mustang better. But it's just nice to talk to everybody. Then they see like, oh, stock, super stock, that's the class, that's the guys that do all the wheelies and things like that. They take an interest in it, and then it also helps that my stocker is not, it's obviously not $100,000 car. So I show them, hey, this is, you know, a $10,000-$15,000 car. If you want to get into it, this is actually a good car to try and get into it. Aside from like a Billy Neese Dime Rocket, which is cheaper, but yeah, I do my part. I try everything I can to get people to understand what we're doing and what our classes represent.
Yeah, it's you could, you know, I look at all the time. I'm always looking at Class Racer and looking at the classifieds and seeing what's out there for cars. And I'm kind of an old diehard Mopar guy. Like Mopar, no car is how I was raised. My family all had Mopars, and the joke is my car I bought a raffle ticket because I started a business. I had a 68 Charger. I sold that when I started my business, and I wanted just a car to run around town, rip around, and maybe go to the racetrack, maybe build a bracket car. And my buddy John McLaughlin said, hey, make that thing a stocker, so you can go to stocker races, or you can bracket race it, you can drive it around, do whatever you want. And so yeah, I did technically win my car, I guess, but it didn't have any drive line, and it's been kind of a labor of love working on it, trying to make it faster. And it's not, you know, I think 75 under is about the fastest I've ever got it to go. But if it wasn't for our association, I would never have a stock eliminator car. I mean, it's to get in there and actually see what it's about. It's really cool. But you go on Class Racer, you can buy a car like mine. I mean, they're all over for $25,000 to $30,000. Now it's kind of a beat up combo on a 2000 Camaro, but man, it can run pretty consistent. Teaches you a lot about it. And when you compare what we're racing for money compared to just bracket guys or for trophies or for, you know, you start racing 90 cars in box for $800. How does that make any sense? Because they're still spending the same amount of money.
Right. I'm just hoping more racers support the stuff like Dave Lay's East Coast Stock Super Stock Association, our deal. We got the Buckeye deal, you know, the Midwest deal, and then they got one out in Arizona. And I see that RJ Sledge is getting ready to start one up in Texas. I'm just hoping that racers support these deals because, you know, supporting these deals is going to keep the stock super stock alive, you know, to me. You know, just keep on running these associate races, you know, plus the NHRA races, but, you know, keep it supporting the associate races. You know, they definitely need it supported to keep everything going.
Well, at the end of the day, we can't control what the NHRA does, but we can contribute and help control what the association does.
Right.
They're all looking for volunteers. I think if anybody out there listening right now called their local association and says, hey, do you need me to fundraise or do you need me to make a phone call? They would all be willing to accept it, and they're all good about taking input, and that's what's going to help grow the sport.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of money, well, I know what kind of money you guys run for, but I don't know some of the other association deals, but we run for $1,500, and you know, you guys run for $3,000. I think the way I seen them checks, I thought I seen $3,000.
Yeah, it's
$1,000 runner up.
Yeah, like I think this weekend was 2 to the winner, 1,000 to the runner up, which
yeah, but you know that's more money you can win at a divisional.
Second,
I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it's more money you can win at a divisional.
And it's really bottom side heavy. So even to win second round, I think you get $100. So I mean,
there
that's
you go.
There's actually some money there, but you know, we couldn't do that without guys like John McLeod, Dan Weiss, and Al Nias. I mean, the guys that really started, and even, you know, the late Ron Riddell, you know, was kind of the backbone of getting everything going. And we would not be here, have as good an association if it wasn't for the work those guys put in. I mean, I think they're kind of taken for granted. I mean, I don't know if we truly appreciate how many hours those guys spend doing that stuff. And give a shout out to those guys. I mean, anybody running an association, thanks for doing what you're doing. Cause that's
I run the Buckeye deal.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Dave Lay, runs the East Coast Stock Super Stock. We have one more race, I believe, Sunday, November 1st at ATCO, and we're doing everything we can to keep that track open because there is rumor that track is being sold this year. And
yeah, I know. I heard that rumor too.
I'd be very sad because that track is about an hour and a half from me. So I already lost Englishtown. I'm really hoping ATCO can can stay open for us.
I stayed there for 3 weeks when Joe had the track. I had a bunch of races on the East Coast to do, and Joe said, just pull over. I was over there on the other side of the track by the building. He said, there's a plug-in over there. He said, what the heck did he call me? Turbo. Because he knew my name was Nitro, but he always called me Turbo Joe, just to get my attention. But yeah, Joe was a character. I always enjoyed Joe.
Well, we appreciate you coming on today, Joe, and it was nice to get your insight. So for anybody out there listening that doesn't get your stuff already, how do we get a hold of you?
Just the best way, either to message me on Facebook. I'm under Nitro Joe Jackson on Facebook, or Nitro Joe at neo.rr.com. You can email me, and I'll fix you up the information on getting stats. And unfortunately, this year we're only going to have one stat book at the end of the year, but I'm still sending everybody out stat stuff about every 3-4 weeks by email. And that's another thing that, whoever's a subscriber, you get email stats from me. And then anytime, I always tell all my subscribers that anytime you need, you want to know everybody's running a particular class, just email me. I can send you all the stuff for that particular class. It's easy to do by email. So
great.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem. We appreciate it, and that's kind of what makes this fun, just talking to other people that are in it, been around it, and seeing it. And I mean, it's more or less just a conversation, what's happening and where's it going. So we appreciate having you on. And
I honestly don't think we're in trouble or anything right now. Everybody keeps, doomsday's coming up and this and that. We're in good shape.
Yeah.
We're all right.
I think so too, Joe. So thank you very much for coming on, Joe. It's been great to talk to you today. And, hope to get your stat book. And hopefully next year you'll have a nice, huge stat book for us when we get back to normal.
Oh, it's been interesting this year, to say the least.
Indeed.
Well, we just want to give a shout out to everybody that's been listening. We appreciate all the comments. It's been really well received, and it's been a lot of fun. Every episode, I feel like I learned something about it, and hopefully we're educating some people out there that don't much about it and are maybe interested and want to get into it. So continue to reach out. You know how to find us. Like us on Facebook. Go ahead and share this. This will be Facebook Live, kind of how it's getting made. You can feel free to share that. Go to our website. Reach out if you got any comments or questions or concerns. Let us know.
Well, guys, anytime you want me back on, just give me a shout, or need any stuff, just let me know.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Also, real quick, anybody that is on our Facebook page, that's where we do everything. We try to acknowledge number one qualifiers, winners, anything interesting that happens in the class racing world. Put it up there. And I know it's very difficult to add or insert photos onto classracer.com, so you can put your photos on our Facebook page and then insert them from our page also. So that's all I have to say today. Wrapping up October 12th, 2020 episode. See you next time.
Have a good weekend.
Hang loose, everybody.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
All right,
Way to go. Great job.
Anytime you guys want me to put stuff on your Facebook site, let me know, so I can put it.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Joe.